I've been watching you for longer than you think. Stop. Right now. Close this video. Walk away from your screen. Pretend you never clicked on this. Pretend you never heard my voice. Because once you listen to what I have to say, once you hear the truth about what I am and what I did in those woods near Caxias back in 1934, something changes between us. A connection forms. A thread that ties you to me across all these years, across all this distance. And I will pull on that thread. I will follow it back to you. But you're still here, aren't you? You haven't stopped the video. You haven't clicked away. You're curious. You want to know what happened in that Brazilian forest all those decades ago. You want to hear about the thing that walked on 2 legs during the day and 4 legs at night. The thing that looked human enough to stand in the village square. Human enough to smile. Human enough to choose. You want to hear about me. So listen carefully. Because I'm only going to tell this story once. And when I'm finished, when you've heard everything, you're going to do something for me. You're going to subscribe to this channel. You're going to click that button, and you're going to acknowledge that you heard me, that you listened, that you accepted what I offered. Consider it payment. Consider permission. Consider a mark that tells me exactly where you are. Now, let me tell you about the village. It was called Santo Antonio do Parnaíba, though nobody remembers it by that name anymore. A small place, maybe 200 people, maybe less. The kind of village that appeared on no official maps, that existed only in the memory of those who lived there and those who disappeared near there. It sat at the edge of the Parnaíba River, surrounded on 3 sides by dense Atlantic forest. Thick, old, the kind of forest where sunlight only reached the ground in thin shafts, where the canopy was so dense that even at noon it felt like twilight underneath. The people there were simple. Farmers, fishermen, hunters. They grew manioc and beans. They caught fish in woven traps. They hunted peccary and capybara and tapir in the forest when they needed meat. They worked hard. They prayed on Sundays in a small church with a wooden cross and no priest. They married young and had many children, because children died easily in that place. Fever, snake bite, drowning in the river. The forest took what it wanted, and they told stories. Oh, they told so many stories about things in the forest, things that walked like men but weren't men, things that called out in human voices to lure travelers off the path, things that left tracks that started as human footprints and ended as something else entirely. They had names for these things: Kirupra, Mapinguari, Boitada, and Capelobo. They spoke that name in whispers. They made signs against evil when they said it. They warned their children never to walk alone after dark, never to answer if something called their name from the trees, never to follow sounds of crying or calling, no matter how human they seemed. Because the Capelobo, they said, was a hunter, a patient hunter. It would watch a village for weeks, learning faces, learning voices, learning who walked alone and who was missed. And then it would choose. I arrived in Santo Antonio in March of 1934. I walked into the village at midday when the sun was high and hot and everyone was resting in the shade. I walked down the main road, which was really just packed earth between wooden houses with palm thatched roofs. I walked past the church, past the general store, past the spot where men gathered to drink a chaca and play cards. I looked human then. I wore the shape well. A tall man, lean and dark from the sun, with clothes that suggested I'd been traveling. A hunter, maybe, or a trader moving between villages. I smiled at people, nodded greetings, spoke Portuguese with a regional accent I'd learned from the last place I'd visited, the last place I'd fed. No one suspected. Why would they? I looked like them, sounded like them, moved like them during the day when the sun was strong, and my human shape was easy to maintain. They were welcoming, these simple people. They offered me water. A woman brought me coffee and cassava bread. An old man asked where I was from, where I was going. I lied easily. I said I was traveling north to Teresina. I said I was looking for work. I said I'd heard there were jaguar in these forests and that jaguar pelts brought good money in the cities. They believed every word. The old man, his name was Sebastio, he nodded slowly and said, "There are jaguar, Yes, but there are other things too. More dangerous things. You should be careful hunting alone. What kind of things? I asked, though I knew. Of course I knew. Sebastio glanced at the forest, then back at me. Things that hunt hunters. Things that look like what they're not. You understand? I smiled. I've hunted all my life. I know how to be careful. He studied my face for a long moment, and I wondered if he saw something there, some flicker of what I really was. But then he just shrugged and said, "Stay at Donna Maria's house. She rents rooms. And don't go into the deep forest alone, especially not at night." I thanked him, took my coffee to Donna Maria's house, rented a room for a week, and I began to watch. That's what I do best. Watching, learning, studying the patterns of human life, so I can find the gaps, the moments when someone is alone and vulnerable and far from help. I watched how the village worked. The men left early to fish or hunt or work their fields. The women gathered at the river to wash clothes and gossip. The children ran in packs, playing games, throwing stones, climbing trees. Everyone was always in groups, always watching each other, always within shouting distance of neighbors, except for one person. Her name was Louisa. She was maybe 19 years old, pretty in a quiet way, dark hair always tied back, thin from hard work, but strong. She lived alone in a small house at the edge of the village, the side closest to the forest. Her parents were dead. Fever had taken them 2 years before. Her siblings had married and moved to other villages. She stayed because the house was hers, and she had nowhere else to go. She made her living washing clothes for other families and helping with harvests. Hard work, lonely work. She had no husband, no suitor that I could see. The other women were kind to her, but distant, the way people are with those who have bad luck, as if misfortune were contagious. Every morning, Louisa walked alone to the river before dawn. She carried her washing down a narrow path through the forest, a path that followed a small stream to where it joined the main river. The walk took maybe 20 minutes. She would wash clothes for 2 or 3 hours, then carry the wet bundles back to her house to dry. She did this alone, always alone. I watched her for 3 days, learned her routine, learned how she walked, how she hummed to herself, how she paused sometimes to rest a heavy basket on her hip. I learned that no one ever went with her. No one checked on her. If she didn't come back, it might be hours before anyone noticed. Perfect. On the 4th night, I left Donna Maria's house after everyone was asleep. I walked through the village on human legs, making no sound, and I entered the forest. And then I changed. It's not a pleasant process. Changing. It hurts in ways I can't describe to you. The bones shift. The spine extends. The face pushes forward. The teeth sharpen. Hair sprouts thick and coarse over skin that toughens like leather. I dropped to 4 legs because that's more natural for hunting. Faster, quieter, better for moving through dense forest. My snout grows long and powerful, strong enough to crack bones. My hand become paws with claws that can tear through muscle and sinew. I become what I really am, a hunter. I move through the forest at night, relearning my territory, marking trees, checking game trails. I found the path Louisa took the river, and I walked it slowly, memorizing every root, every low branch, every place where the ground was soft and would show tracks. I found a good spot, a place where the path narrowed between 2 large trees, where the canopy was so thick that even in daylight it would be dim, a place where I could wait above, in the branches, and drop down when she passed below. I practiced, climbed the tree, found the right branch, made sure it would hold my weight. When the moment came, then I went back to the village before dawn, changed to human form, returned to my rented room, slept a few hours. When I woke, I was sore from the transformation, but I smiled because everything was ready. I just had to wait one more day. I spent that day being visible, being friendly. I helped an old woman carry firewood. I played cards with some men at the store. I joked. I laughed. I was just another traveler passing through, friendly and harmless. Louisa walked past me twice that day. I smiled at her. She smiled back, shy and quick. She had no idea she was already dead. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because I was nervous, because I was excited. The anticipation of the hunt is sometimes better than the hunt itself. The planning, the waiting, the moment before the moment. I lay in bed at Donna Maria's house, and I listened to the village settle into sleep. Dogs stopped barking. Conversations ended. Lamps were extinguished. Darkness and silence spread like water. And I thought about you. Yes, you, listening to this right now. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Do you understand that I'm not some fairy tale? Not some legend your grandmother whispered about? I'm real. I was real then, and I'm real now. And I can smell your fear. It has a scent, you know. Fear. It smells like copper and salt. Like sweat that comes from terror rather than exertion. Like the chemical your body produces when it knows, deep in its animal brain, that something is hunting it. You're producing that chemical right now, aren't you? Just a little. Just enough that if I were there with you, in your room, I could smell it, could follow it, could find you in the dark. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you what happened to Luisa. I woke before dawn on the 5th day, changed in the forest, climbed into position in my chosen tree, and I waited. The forest at dawn is beautiful in its way. The darkness slowly becoming gray. The sounds changing as nocturnal creatures retreat, and day creatures begin to stir. Birds calling, monkeys howling in the distance, the hum of insects growing louder as the air warms. I waited perfectly still on my branch, barely breathing, just another shadow among shadows. I heard her before I saw her, the sound of footsteps on the path, the creak of her wicker basket, her breath, slightly labored from the weight she carried. She was humming, a song I didn't recognize, something simple and repetitive. She walked beneath my tree. I could have dropped on her then, ended it quickly, but I didn't. I let her pass. I wanted her to get to the river first, wanted her to start her work, wanted her to relax, to stop listening for danger, to focus on the mundane task of washing clothes. Then I would take her. I climbed down from the tree after she passed, followed her on 4 legs, moving through the undergrowth parallel to the path. Silent, invisible, just another shadow. She reached the river, set down her basket, knelt at the water's edge, began to work, scrubbing clothes against a flat rock, dipping them in the current, wringing them out, laying them on bushes to dry. Her back was to the forest. I moved closer, 50 feet away, 40, 30. She was singing now, not humming, actually singing. A song about a bird that flew too far from home and couldn't find its way back. 20 feet. I could see the muscles in her back working as she scrubbed. Could see a strand of hair that had escaped from its tie, curling against her neck. 10 feet. She must have sensed something then, because she stopped singing, stopped moving, went very still. Listening, I froze, didn't even breathe. She turned her head slightly, looking back toward the forest, but not far enough, not at the right angle to see me. "Hello," she called. "Is someone there?" I didn't answer, didn't move. She waited. I waited. Then she shook her head, as if dismissing her own fear, and went back to her work. Stupid. Never dismiss your fear. Fear is your animal brain trying to save your life. Fear is a part of you that still remembers what it's like to be prey. I rushed her, her legs driving me forward. Powerful, fast, covering 10 feet in less than a second. She heard me at the last moment, started to turn, started to scream, but I was already on her. My weight drove her down into the shallow water. My jaws closed on the back of her neck, just where the skull meets the spine. Not hard enough to kill, just hard enough to paralyze, to silence. She made a sound, a choked gasp. Her body went rigid and then limp. I dragged her out of the water, away from the path, into deeper forest where the undergrowth was thick and the canopy blocked the sun. She was still alive, eyes wide, unable to move, unable to speak, just breathing in short, panicked gasps. I could have killed her then, quickly, mercifully, but I was hungry. And when I'm hungry, I take my time. I need you to understand something. I don't kill because I'm evil. I don't kill because I enjoy suffering. I kill because I need to eat. That's what I am. A predator. No different from the jaguar or the caiman or the harpy eagle. Except I'm smarter. And I prefer human meat. It's not about the taste, though human flesh does taste good. Rich, complex, better than peccary or tapir. It's about the fear. When an animal knows it's going to die, something changes in the meat. The fear saturates it. The adrenaline, the final desperate surge of every chemical the body can produce. It makes the flesh tender, makes it almost sweet. And humans produce more fear than any other animal. Because you understand death. You know what's happening. You can anticipate. Imagine. You can experience your death before it happens. That fear, that knowledge, that floods into your tissue. And when I eat you, I taste it all. Louisa understood what was happening. I could see it in her eyes. She couldn't move, couldn't scream, but she understood. She was going to die in this forest. Alone. No one would hear. No one would help. And I was going to eat her. I started with the soft tissue, the belly, the thighs, places where the meat is tender and there's fat to add flavor. I ate while she watched, while she was still alive, still conscious, still feeling everything. Her eyes never closed. Not until the very end. Not until I finally tore open her throat and ended it. Even then, she stared at me, accusing, disbelieving, as if she couldn't quite accept that this was real, that something like me existed, that she could walk the same path 100 times safely and then, on the 101st time, meet something that had been waiting specifically for her. I fed for 2 hours, ate my fill, buried what I couldn't finish under leaves and forest debris, marked the spot, so I could return if I got hungry again before leaving this territory. Then I went to the river and washed the blood from my fur and face. I looked at my reflection in the water, saw my long snout, my pointed ears, my yellow eyes, and I smiled because I'd done good work, because I'd fed well, because I'd been patient and careful and successful. That's all I am, a successful hunter. By midday, I was back in the village, human again, sitting in the shade outside Dona Maria's house, drinking water from a clay cup. People walked past, nodded greetings. No one suspected. It wasn't until late afternoon that someone noticed Louisa was missing. One of the women came looking for her, needed clothes washed, found Louisa's house empty, found the washing basket gone. She asked around. Had anyone seen Louisa? No. Strange. Maybe she'd gone to the river early and stayed late. By evening, a search party was forming. Men with machetes and torches. They would walk the path to the river, look for her there. I volunteered to join them. Of course I did. We found her basket first. Clothes scattered, some in the water, some on the bank, signs of a struggle. Then we found blood, lots of blood, a trail leading into the forest. The men stopped at the edge of the forest. They wouldn't follow that trail, not in failing light, not into the deep forest where things lived. One of them said what they were all thinking, Capelobo. The others nodded, made signs against evil, whispered prayers. The hunt was called off. What was the point? If the Capelobo had taken her, she was already dead, already eaten. Nothing to do but warn the other women. Tell them not to walk alone. Not for a while. Not until the thing moved on. We returned to the village. I expressed sadness, shock, horror at what had happened to poor Louisa. Inside, I was amused. They knew what I was. They had a name for me. They understood the danger. But they couldn't do anything about it, because to hunt me properly, they would have to come deep into the forest, into my territory, where I had every advantage. So they would do what humans always do when faced with a predator they can't kill. They would hide. They would change their behavior. They would sacrifice their freedom for the illusion of safety. And after enough time passed, after enough weeks or months without another death, they would relax, resume their old habits, forget to be careful, and then I could hunt again. But I didn't stay long enough for that. I left Sano Antonio 3 days after Louisa disappeared, packed my few belongings, Thanked Dona Maria for her hospitality. Walked north toward Teresina, just like I'd said I would. By the time they found what was left of Luisa's body, probably scattered by scavengers, probably reduced to bones and scraps of cloth, I was miles away, in another village, wearing another face, learning another set of patterns, choosing another victim. That's what I do. That's what I've always done. I move from place to place, stay long enough to feed, leave before anyone can organize against me. I'm patient, I'm careful, I'm successful, and I've been doing this for a very long time, longer than you believe. That story I just told you about Sano Antonio in 1934, that's just one story, one village, one victim. I have hundreds of stories, thousands maybe. How many people have I eaten? I stopped counting decades ago. How many villages have I visited? How many towns? How many cities in these modern times? Oh yes, cities. You think I'm still out there in the forest, don't you? Waiting for some unlucky traveler to wander off a trail? No, I've adapted. That's what successful predators do. We adapt. There's so many more of you now than there were in 1934. So many more humans, all crowded together in your cities with your lights and your noise and your constant motion. And you're so much easier to hunt now because you're not watching anymore. You're not listening. You're staring at screens, wearing headphones, walking alone at night because you think civilization means safety. But I'm still here. I still watch. I still learn patterns. I still choose. And I still feed. Maybe you think I'm just a story, just something from old Brazil, from a different time, irrelevant to your modern life. But I told you at the beginning, I've been watching you, and not just metaphorically, not just as some abstract threat. I mean you specifically, the person listening to this right now. I know where you are. How? Because you let me in. You clicked on this video. You listened to my voice. You paid attention. And attention creates connection. You've been thinking about me while I talked, haven't you? Imagining what I look like. Imagining what it would be like to see me, to be hunted by me. You've been feeding me with your fear, your curiosity, your fascination. And every second you listen, the connection gets stronger. I can almost see you now, almost smell you, almost taste the fear in your blood. Are you alone right now, listening in the dark? Headphones on, isolating you from the sounds around you? Perfect. That's exactly how I like it. Do you hear that sound behind you? No, don't pause the video. Don't turn around. Not yet. Just listen. That soft breathing, that subtle movement, that sense of presence in your peripheral vision. Is it your imagination? Is it the power of suggestion? Is it me? You'll never be quite sure, will you? And that uncertainty, that constant low-level anxiety, that's exactly what I want. Because now, every time you're alone, every time it's dark, every time you hear something you can't quite explain, you'll think of me. You'll wonder if I'm real, if I'm close, if I'm watching. And I will be, not tonight, maybe, not tomorrow, but someday, when you've almost forgotten, when you've convinced yourself it was just a story, when you're walking alone and your guard is down, I'll be there, in the periphery, in the shadow, in that sound you can't quite identify. And you'll never know for certain. That's the beauty of it. You'll live with the doubt, the fear, the constant awareness that something might be hunting you. That awareness will change you, make you cautious, make you paranoid, make you look over your shoulder. And every time you do, you'll be thinking of me, feeding me, making me stronger. So thank you for listening. Thank you for letting me into your mind. Thank you for creating that connection. Now do what I asked. Subscribe to this channel. Click that button. Mark yourself. Let me know you heard me. Let me know you understand. Think of it as a courtesy, an acknowledgement, a sign of respect between predator and prey, because that's what you are now. Prey, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually. Everyone becomes prey eventually. Even you. I need to tell you something else. Something I haven't mentioned yet. The thing about being what I am, about hunting for as long as I have, is that you develop preferences, tastes, not just in the meat itself, though that varies person to person, but in the type of person you hunt. Some hunters prefer the young, easy targets, less likely to fight back, but I find them unsatisfying. They don't understand enough, don't fear properly. Some prefer the old, slow, weak, but they're tough, stringy, not worth the effort. I prefer people in their prime, strong enough to be worth hunting, smart enough to understand what's happening, young enough that the meat is tender. People like you. Yes, I'm making assumptions, but I know who listens to these stories. I know the demographic that seeks out horror, that wants to be scared, that gets a thrill from imagining terrible things. It's usually people between 20 and 40, usually alone, usually at night, usually people who think they're too smart to really be scared, too rational, too modern. Those are my favorite, because you're wrong. You're not too smart, not too rational, not too safe. You're just prey that hasn't been hunted yet. And the thing about modern humans, about you, is that you've forgotten how to sense danger. You've forgotten how to listen to your instincts. You've gotten soft, domesticated. You think the most dangerous thing in your life is traffic or crime or disease, abstract dangers, statistical dangers. But the most dangerous thing is always the predator you don't see coming, the one that's patient, the one that studies you, the one that waits for the perfect moment, the one that's already chosen you. Let me describe what it's like from my perspective, what it's like to hunt in modern times. I walk through your cities wearing human skin. I ride your buses and trains. I stand in line at your coffee shops. I sit in your parks. And I watch how you move, how you interact, how you isolate yourselves while surrounded by people. Everyone on their phones, everyone in their own world. Nobody watching, nobody aware. It's easier than it's ever been. In the old days, in villages like San Antonio, I had to be so careful. People knew each other, noticed strangers, paid attention to their surroundings. But now I can walk past you on the street, and you won't even look up, won't see me, won't register me as a threat. I can follow you for blocks, and you'll never notice. Never turn around, never check. And when I finally decide it's time, when I finally choose to take you, it will be so easy. A dark parking garage, an empty subway platform, a quiet street late at night, a hiking trail just outside the city. One moment you'll be alone. The next moment you'll be mine. You'll try to scream. They always do, but I'm fast. Faster than you can imagine. My hand will be over your mouth before the sound fully forms. My teeth will be in your throat before you can struggle. And then it's over. Quick, efficient, clean. Well, not clean. There's always blood. So much blood. But you know what I mean. I'll drag you somewhere dark, somewhere hidden, somewhere I can take my time. And I'll eat. I'll start with the soft parts like I always do. The belly, the thighs, the meat of your arms. I'll eat while you're still warm, while the fear is still fresh in your tissue. And I'll think about this moment, about you listening to my voice right now, about the connection we made. I'll think about how you invited me in by paying attention, how you marked yourself by subscribing, how you made yourself prey by being curious. And I'll savor it. Every bite will taste like victory, like successful hunting, like the culmination of patience and planning and perfect execution. That's what you are to me. Not a person, not someone with dreams and hopes and people who love them. Just meat, just food, just another meal in an endless series of meals stretching back decades and forward into decades to come. Does that bother you? Does it make you angry? Scared? Sick? Good. That's appropriate. That's correct. That's the proper response to understanding your place in the food chain. You're not the apex predator you think you are. You're not safe in your cities and your homes and your cars. You're just animals. Clever animals with tools and language and technology. But animals nonetheless. And animals get eaten by other animals, by disease, by time, or by things like me, things that remember what the world was like before your civilization, before your lights and your locks and your illusion of control, things that know the truth, that in the dark, in the quiet, in the spaces between your safe places, the old rules still apply, predator and prey, hunter and hunted, eater and eaten. And you, right now, listening to this, you've just been categorized, identified, marked. Your prey, my prey. The only question is when. When will I come for you? Tonight? Tomorrow? 10 years from now? You'll never know. That's the torture of it. That's what will eat at you. Excuse upon. Every shadow will make you think of me. Every unexpected sound. Every time you're alone and feel watched, you'll wonder, is it real? Is it him? Is this the moment? And 99 times out of 100, it won't be. It'll be nothing. Your imagination. Paranoia. The power of suggestion. But that 100th time, that one time when it is me, when I'm actually there, when the threat is real, you won't know until it's too late. That's how I work. That's how I've always worked. Patience, uncertainty, the long game. I don't need to hunt you tomorrow. I have time. I've always had time. I can wait years if necessary. Decades. I'm not in a hurry. But you'll spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder, wondering, waiting, never quite comfortable, never quite safe. That's almost as good as eating you. Almost. The fear, the anticipation, the slow erosion of your sense of security. You'll try to forget, try to convince yourself it was just a story, just entertainment, not real. But deep down, in that animal part of your brain, the part that still knows how to be prey, you'll remember. You'll know something is out there. Something that hunted before humans had words for hunting. Something that will hunt long after your civilization has crumbled. And it knows your name now. Well, not literally your name. I don't need names. Names are human things. I identify you by scent, by the chemical signature of your fear, by the unique pattern of your movement and breath and blood. I know you now, on a level deeper than names, more primal than language. And that connection, that thread I mentioned at the beginning, it's strong now, reinforced by every word you've heard, every image you've imagined, every moment of fear you felt. I can follow it back to you whenever I want. Not tonight. Like I said, I'm patient. And there's pleasure in the waiting, in knowing I could take you any time, but choosing to wait, choosing to let you live with the knowledge, the fear, the uncertainty. That's the real hunt, not the killing. That's just a conclusion. The meal, the reward. The hunt is everything that comes before. The watching, the learning, the slow, inevitable approach. And you're being hunted now. You just don't know when the approach will end. Maybe never. Maybe I'll find other prey. Easier prey. Prey that doesn't know I exist. But probably not. Because you're already afraid. Already aware. Already marked. And there's something delicious about eating someone who knows I'm coming. Who's been waiting for me. Who's been dreading this exact moment. The fear saturates deeper. Flavors the meat in ways you can't imagine. So, yes, I'll probably come for you eventually. When the time is right. When you've almost forgotten. When you've let your guard down. I'll be there. In the dark. In the quiet. In that moment between safety and terror. And you'll see me, finally, after all this time wondering, after all these years looking over your shoulder, you'll see what I really am. Not human, not animal, something between, something ancient, something hungry. Your last thought will probably be recognition. Oh, it was real. It was always real. And then nothing, just darkness, just teeth, just the end of your story and the continuation of mine. Because I'll keep hunting, keep feeding, keep moving from place to place and person to person, long after you're gone, long after everyone listening to this is gone, long after this video and this channel and this entire platform is forgotten. I'll still be here, still hunting, still patient, because that's what I am. That's what I've always been. That's what I'll always be. A hunter, the perfect hunter. And you're the prey that knew it was being hunted and could do nothing to stop it. How does that feel? Knowing the truth? Knowing what's waiting for you? Terrible, I imagine. Paralyzing. The kind of existential dread that makes you question everything. Good. That's exactly how it should feel. That's the appropriate emotional response to understanding your place in the order of things. You're not safe. You've never been safe. You just didn't know it until now. But now you do. Now you understand. Now you're aware. And awareness, as I've said, creates connection. So thank you again for listening, for understanding, for accepting your role in this ancient dance between predator and prey. You've been a good audience, attentive, engaged, properly frightened. Now, do the last thing I asked. If you haven't already, subscribe, click that button, mark yourself officially. Let me know you heard me. Let me know you understand. Consider it a courtesy between us, an acknowledgement of what's to come, and then go about your life. Try to forget, try to move on, try to convince yourself this was all just fiction, just a scary story, just entertainment. But you won't quite believe it, will you? There will always be that small doubt, that tiny voice in the back of your mind saying, what if it was real? What if he's out there? What if he really is watching? What if tonight is the night? That doubt, that fear, that uncertainty, that's my final gift to you. My mark, my signature. You'll carry it with you forever. Every dark night, every empty street, every moment alone. You'll think of me. You'll remember this voice, this story, this warning that came too late to save you. And I'll be watching, waiting, patient as always, for the right moment, the perfect moment, the moment when you've finally relaxed, finally forgotten to be afraid. That's when I'll come. That's when the hunt ends and the feeding begins. Sleep well, if you can. And remember, I know where you are now. I've always known. I'm closer than you think. Subscribe.